Hello, everyone. My name is Setanaoko, and today we're gonna go over the Jedi Sextant. There's a lot of people that don't quite understand this, so I thought, well, we have a little bit of time where nobody's really captured that time, so I'm just gonna take it for myself last minute and insert some kind of like a practical for the whole thing. So we're just going to kind of jump into that. Hold on. So, um, so Jedi Sextant is a card game. It is a card game. Game is key word. This is not intended to be a divination deck. I have had people that have tried. My hope is that my energy has really poured into the concept of these cards and it is spreading throughout the force and it is going to make it so it is not a divination deck. It is not a divination deck. This is a meditation card game and it follows stories. So, for those of you who like lore or you like to think about concepts and storytelling, myths and legends and all kinds of stuff, that's what this is about. And the reason why is because stories, in my opinion, are the foundation of culture. And what I mean by that is without stories, we wouldn't have morals. We would not have ethics. We can talk about ethics all day long, but we would not have a basis for what those ethics are. Stories also, so for those of you that have never known this, I went to a literary magnet school when I was in middle school, and that was East Literature Magnet. My one of my favorite teachers, her name was Miss Anthony, and she actually used to be an editor for the uh, New York Times. I believe it was the New York Times before she became a teacher for us. And the big thing that she kind of nailed into everyone and as well as the other teachers that were around her in our years is how stories can help develop a culture and inspire people to become better. We talked about how stories in general shaped the way that the civil rights movement moved forward, how people were able to use words from other people, expressions by other people to connect with those concepts and build empathy and sympathy. Stories orally, we do oral tradition, the whole nine yards is how we communicate with each other, is how we get ideas across to each other in a way that makes more sense. Because when you are able to take yourself out of the idea that this is about me and you're able to look at it from a completely different perspective, you can grow. So stories can do good, they can do great good, or they can do great harm. So it's important to know that too. Stories like uh even in pictographs. So there's if has anybody here ever watched what is it called? I know it, Freedom Writers. Okay. So there's a scene in Freedom Writers, and it's towards the beginning. Teacher comes in. She sees that they're passing around this picture, and it's a pictograph, and it's supposed to be a joke. This is a form of communication. It's a story that has been built, and she points out that it was stuff like that that really made the Holocaust a thing because people were not, they were desensitizing to what was going on. And then she found out they don't even know the story of what happened to Anne Frank or anyone else in the Holocaust. So she had to help them learn what that was. And she had them read Anne Frank's book. This is not a movie. This is a movie about a real story. And the Freedom Riders even started their own organization. So words, stories have power, and that is kind of the idea that was behind the Jedi Sextant. Why, and you might be wondering, well, why did you even come up with a game? Well, okay, so in fairness, there was an over at FA, the Dark Aspect had their own game. It's called the Glass Bead Game, and it was based on, there's actually a book called the Glass Bead Game. And it doesn't actually tell you how to play the game. So there are a multitude of different groups that have come up with their own way to play that game. And the Dark Aspect had this. And while we were talking to other people, I'm like, I really would love to have our own game for the light, for the Jedi. And so I started looking around and I found what we call in the community the Jedi behaviors. But if you go and you look on Wikipedia, you will find where it says following the Jedi Code. You have to go to, so there's the Legends tab and the Canon tab. And so you have to go to the Legends tab and it'll have like this whole long list of different things. So if you ever follow these, you can kind of see where where a lot of them came from, because that's where it began. So I came up with a negative and a positive of each of them. So like for example, there's uh be dishonest, or actually no, this one's easier. Disregard your master and then honor your master. It's the same concept. It's about honoring your master or not honoring them. So there is a negative and there is a positive of these different cards. So every single one of them has one. And uh every card that is designed on here follows a story that is linked to the stars. So the reason that the stars were picked, you can see them, a couple of examples. The reason the stars were picked is because, well, there were a couple of different reasons. The first one was we named it the Jedi Compass, and then this guy over at Church of Jediism, his name's Christopher Porter. He came up to me. He's like, "So the next one that you write, the next book you write should be called the Jedi Sextant." And admittedly, I didn't know what a sextant was when he told me about it, so I had to go look that up because I was like, that doesn't sound right. So I looked it up and I found out it's like looking at the stars, which goes with compass. And I thought about it and I was like, oh, that's a perfect name for the card game that I developed a few years ago because I didn't have a name for it. And I was like, oh, I'll call it the Jedi Sextant. And then there are so many stories that we have built around stars. And this is the one thing that is so universal to humanity. It's not funny. Like there are all kinds of like everybody looks to the stars in our ancient history, and we come up with stories, and then some of the stories are developed even more modernly. So there's like this one, where is it? Um, so then you have like in Peru or Australia, Peru. Yeah, this one's Peru. Uh, no, this is the ostrich. So this is actually Australia. So this one's actually a dark one. It follows what the Milky Way looks like out there. And then there's one that's more modern. I kind of took it from ancient aliens concepts, but it's Assault. And this is based on a story about Tiamat. And there's a belief that Tiamat was actually um, a body in the solar system, and there was a collision, and Tiamat ended up breaking up, and I think it became our moon or something else. But so all these stories, these are all stories. Every single one in here is a story from mankind. Some of them are good, some of them are really awful. Uh, some of them are really awful. But that's the thing about us as humans. We have light and we have dark. And even though some of these stories are awful, and I've been yelled at before because a couple of stories in here are really awful. But I didn't want to take away from the fact that we have light and dark within us. Because even those stories can tell us something about who we are as people, the kinds of struggles that we go through, the kinds of things that we're afraid of, the kinds of things that unfortunately are embraced. that we need to fight against. So the goal of this is to take two, I used to say 2 to 5 cards. I'll get to that here soon. I would say now 2 to 3 cards. 2 to 3 cards, and you have to string them into a story. So, um, the first set that I had was like this is the first game I ever played. I went to 5. And it was Honor Your Apprentice, um, Disregard Your Master, Keep Your Promises, uh, Keep Your Promises, um, Accept Defeat. That was it. No, there was a fifth one. Okay, so Accept Defeat, Disregard Your Master, Honor Your Apprentice, Keep Your Promises, and uh what was the last one? Ignore Responsibility. So these were the first cards I'd ever drawn. And what I did was, and this will just give you an idea, it can take time. It can take time to put these together. But it does tell you where your brain is. And this goes back to earlier when Antoine and Michael were talking about what do you use in your practice. I said creativity. So there I was. I have this newborn and I wanted to test this out. So I got out some note cards. That's how this started, was just some note cards with all the different things put in there. And I pulled out these 5 cards, really ambitious for my first time, and I started walking. I walked down this route that was in Clarksville with a stroller and my son in there, and I started thinking about it. Actually, one of these cards, Disregard Your Master, is the one that encapsulates the story that ended up coming to me. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it and thinking about it. And I realized that the story that matched up with these cards was Jonah and the Whale. Problem was, the only one I couldn't figure out was how Honor Your Apprentice got in. So it started out with ignore your responsibility. Okay, so Jonah ignores his responsibility to God because God's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have you go out and I need you to talk to Nineveh," right? So he ignores his responsibility, gets on a boat, and then disregards his master altogether. He's like, gets out there, ends up in the belly of the whale. Um, in which case, if you guys want to know later, I can tell you how this card relates to the belly of the whale and stars. But we'll talk about that one later if you want me to. And so he's in the belly of the whale. He's disregarded his master. He's like, I'm just gonna go out there because I'm still not going to Nineveh. Eventually, after 3 days, 3 nights, he embraces defeat or accepts defeat rather. And he's like, okay, fine. I'll go and talk to Nineveh if you just get me out of this whale. So from there, he keeps his promise and he goes to Nineveh and he delivers his message. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This works. I just couldn't figure out this one. So I get home and I pull out the Bible and I look and I find out at the very end uh, something I'd missed in the story. Never really, like, I never got to the end of the story. I just got, he forgave him, and that's it. That's all I knew. So I read the whole book. And when I got to the end, I found that God taught Jonah a lesson using a tree. And that was how he honored his apprentice being his prophet. So, as you can see, these don't have to be exact. They're just kind of concepts that all kind of tie together, right? So that's how you get there. This tells you where your mind is and and gives you insight into things that maybe you need to discover. for yourself because a sextant tells you where you are, but the compass is what tells you where you need to go. So that's where the Jedi Compass comes in. And that one was actually added a little later as to how to integrate the compass into everything that you're doing with this. And it was take a person in the story. In this case, it was Jonah. Jonah is really the only person in that story, other than God. I mean, you could say God, but he's really the only one in the story because he's the only one we're really following. He's the protagonist. And we can look at it and determine, well, what in the compass could he have done? How could he have done things differently? Or what did he follow from the compass? And what we can say is that he should have had more compassion from the get-go. Because he lacked compassion for the people of Nineveh in the beginning of the whole story, he got himself into a world of hurt. And if we hold on to things, if we hold on to our anger and our hurt and our pain, because that's what people say is that we can sorry, is that we get ourselves into more trouble when we hold on to that stuff. He could have avoided everything if he had just gone and done what he was told the first time. If he had had that duty to all. Yes, we hurt ourselves more by suffering out of the attachment to the past. Exactly. So the story goes that that's why he didn't do it. He hated the Ninevites and he wasn't going to do it. But if he had let that go, he had gone to do what he was supposed to out of a duty for all, which is also in the Jedi Compass, it would have progressed everything forward and helped them. So, with that said, before we get into our first draw, does anybody have any questions about how this works?
I have a question about one of the cards.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds a little bit obscure, but is there a card about thinking about your promises, or is it just keeping your promises?
So it's keep your promises and break your promises. Those are the two cards.
Huh. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So they are positive and negative, but as you work with the cards, you find, and it was designed this way, that realistically, they're not actually positive or negative. Sometimes even breaking your promises can be a good thing, for example. Um, so you find that it's not always a bad thing. You have, and that's part of the development that you get as you work through these cards. Anybody else have questions? All right. So I think I have thoroughly, I'm not very good at the whole shuffling thing, but I think I've done a pretty good one. They are only aware of perspectives for awareness of ourselves. It is our judgment that deemed it as negative. Yes, exactly.
Sorry, I was using voice to text. The cards are a lens to look at ourselves for self-exploration so we can be aware of ourselves and where we're at. Sorry about that.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So James says, for example, breaking the oath of Fenrir would have been an amazing idea in the Silmarillion. Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna see where your heads go. Okay. So I have done what I could to shuffle these. I'm gonna pull out two cards. We're just gonna do two cards. And all right, I have no idea what these cards are. Okay, so I have, oh, ha, I got assault. So there's assault and aggressive. So these are our two cards, assault and aggressive. So I want you to take some time. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Sorry. Let's see here. Couple of minutes to think about how these cards can string together in a story. The story does not have to be a true story. It could be a true story. It could be a myth. It could be a story you've heard from someone else. It could be something that you know from Star Wars, from Sailor Moon, anything. But it does have to be a story, and both cards have to fit into the story in some way. And they have to reflect an assault and aggression. together. It does not have to be a good story. It can also be a bad story. Okay? So just take a couple of minutes to brainstorm how those cards fit together in a story. And if you can't come up with one, come up with some concepts of questions that maybe you would ask so you could find a story. I'll explain how I've used that before too.
Al, you have messages on the chat.
Um, yes, it can be a personal story. Okay, has everybody got an idea? Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm just going to remove my spotlight real quick while we're talking through this. So somebody share with me what they had as a concept or a story that they had that relates to these two ideas,
Hello.
aggressive and assault.
Hello, I got one.
Go ahead.
So, this one's not what you'd call super happy. The story is somebody is in a group and there's a known predator in that group. And they tried everything, and the group tried everything, including calling the police to get the predator to stop. So the man, realizing nothing was going to happen, beat the predator within an inch of his life, and then the man went to jail. The name of the story is A Terrible Price. The point is, sometimes in order to do the right thing, you have to pay a terrible price for it.
Okay.
Needless to say, I'm full of happy stories.
I get it. So there's one story. That's a good story to start analyzing against the compass. If that person had had the Jedi compass available to them, how could they have possibly aligned themselves to be more uh, aware of how to best go about things? Or even just, well, I mean, the Jedi code is kind of encapsulated in the Jedi compass because you have loyalty to the code, but yeah.
Hmm. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else got another story?
Yeah, it's Tanner. I've got one.
Okay, go for it.
So my concept is the moment in a commando raid where two forces engage one another, and you're in it. So there's no time to wave off. There's no time to abort. First contact achieved, and it's time to pin your ears back and go. And it's the concept is a bit more what that does from a psychological standpoint, to the people involved. So it's that moment where whenever they touch, and there's that contact, kind of the human side of physiologically what happens, and the the position of and not the illusion of choice, but what choices are there in that moment for either side or any of the participants involved. And so, what does that look like? That's kind of the concept.
I like that one. Aether said the entire story of Attack on Titan. If anybody's ever watched that, yep, that one fits. Anyone else?
Yeah, I typed mine up.
Go ahead.
A few months ago this year, in short, I had somebody try to kill me. It was first degree murder attempt. Anybody that states they have a weapon and they're saying they're going to kill you, from what I learned, is first degree murder attempt. So, um, it was a self-defense situation. I was not aggressive at first in response to the attempted assault on my life. We switched to using self-defense by all means necessary after trying to use more like submission holds to hope everyone can go home at the end of the day. Um, they called the police. It was an attempt. It was a crime scene. That's not even the yeah. So then after going to using self-defense by all means necessary, as a lot more aggressive. Um, yeah, and yeah, to keep it short, it's important to not be vengeful after that. I think a lot of people would be like, fudge you. How dare you? I was mad, but I forgive this person, and it was an option for me to press charges, but then I use empathy to see things from a higher perspective. Understand what they did wrong because you need to be held accountable, but then move through all that and make the best choice necessary, just like a council would if you see somebody do something really wrong, but see all the things if they can be seen. So I don't like using the shields for vengeance, and then moving through cleaning up your blood off the walls 2 days after. It was hard. So, but you have to be calm and use your training and your tools to move through things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and that exercises compassion as well as
Yeah.
respecting the law.
Yes. Yeah.
So, anybody else got one that they want to add? Okay, so the one I came up with, Connor, you might be amused by this. Uh,
Sorry. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. So, what I did, I'm going to show you guys how I kind of got here to this. Let's see. I guess I'll give you the answer if I go here, but so I wanted to explore the idea of a person assaulting a an old lover because they wanted to assault them. Um, there's so I was thinking domestic violence, so I kind of got there. I'm like, well, okay. But really what would get you there, and if you think about it, sometimes people just get upset and because of there's passive aggressiveness between them, just and it's because no one wants to admit that they're out of love with their relationship. So I'm like, okay, so uh passive aggressive relationships lead to um assault. And I was like, okay, so there's this. I'm not getting what I want. And then suddenly I have a song come into mind and I said, I dug my key into the side. And I came up with a song. And it's Carrie Underwood's song, Before He Cheats. This is, this is different from the aggressive I was going for, though. And I was like, well, you know what, though? That kind of works because here you have someone aggressively seeking out, because aggression does not have to just be a emotion, an expression of emotion. It can also be an expression or an action. And so this guy is cheating on her and he's aggressively pursuing other girls. And Carrie's like, I'm done with this, so I'm gonna go assault his car. And she comes to this conclusion. So this gives me a starting point. And the starting point is how do I analyze Carrie Underwood's song and look at that from a perspective of, well, one, having compassion for Carrie because she is responding to her emotional state. In this, I mean, I don't know if she actually did it, but she wrote a song about it, which means she thought about it. But um, those are all things that we can look at and we can say, okay, well, where was her state of mind when this character that she's produced has decided that she's going to go and dig her key and carve her name into the side of this pretty little souped up four-wheel drive uh to just see, okay, how could I even talk with her? I come outside, I'm the girl that he's cheating on and I didn't even know she was there. How do I even address that with her? So those are all things that I can look at, and this tells me things about myself as to which perspective I'm trying to shift to, how I can engage people that are in these circumstances, because healing is something that I seek out. That's why the Mystic curriculum really exists. It's supposed to be there to help people heal from the sorry, I just read where Darcy was like he deserved he deserved it. It's scary. So, all of these different things just that we can look at and we can pick up a point. So, we're gonna do another draw, and I want everybody this time to either write in the comments. I don't have to read your name, but write in the comments like what you came up with because I want to see that you guys are kind of picking this up. Okay, so let's do this again. Go and pick out card 1 and card 2. And it's going to be keep your promises and be honest. Keep your promises and be honest. Okay. See what everybody comes up with.
That's a good one, Darcy.
Everyone got one?
Yeah, I posted mine.
Yeah, I saw yours. Okay, Connor. Aladdin. Oh, that's such a great one.
Hmm. Now, is he referring to the cartoon or is he referring to the live action one?
I would never refer to the live action one.
Just want
It
that to
does not
be,
exist.
yeah, I just want that to be really clear.
There is no live action Aladdin in Ba
There's
Sing
no
Se.
live
That's right. That's right. Darcy understands.
That's funny.
I just thought it was really funny when he's standing there and he's going, "I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. Come on, you know." He's like waiting for him to do the thing with the hand, you know. And I'm like, "I'm waiting for you, you know." Oh my God.
So while everybody else is trying to come up with theirs, I got Gawain and the Green Knight. So I would love to hear a little bit more on that one, James. Gawain and the Green Knight.
The Green Knight Supremacy. Ooh.
Okay. Mic difficulties, one sec. Okay, gotcha.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, these are two stories. Honestly, they're very much about keeping your promises and honesty. In the case of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, it started with a promise, went into a promise, and it was the whole thing. So, in the case of Gawain and the Green Knight, it was in King Arthur's court, a Green Knight came and wanted to have a contest of let's lop each other's heads off. I don't get it either. And so Sir Gawain was like, okay, I will lop your head off. Walked up with an axe, lopped his head off. The Green Knight was like, okay, that's great. Picked his head up and said, put his head back on and said, now you need to come to the Green Chapel this time next year and I'll lop your head off. And he was like, well, okay. So then he went next year, on his way to the Green Chapel, came across a totally coincidental castle with a guy and his wife. The guy was like, listen, I'm going to go out, but I will give you whatever I get, and you give me whatever you get. Right. So, so his wife, she likes his vibe. Just put it that way. So he's like, no, 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 you're married, not cool. She gives him like a kiss in the cheek, and he's like, okay, fine. Then the guy comes back, he gives the guy
Okay.
a kiss in the cheek, blah, 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 right? And then one day she's like, hey, I've got this girdle that I will give you, and it will keep you from getting decapitated. And he was like, fantastic. I do not want to be decapitated. So he took it. And when the guy came, he didn't give the guy the girdle. So at the end, come to find out, the Green Knight was the husband, and he nicked his neck because he didn't keep his promise every single time. And in case you're wondering, that when you hear about Sir Patrick Stewart or da 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 da, they're actually referencing this story. It's the Order of the Garter. The other one was Sir Clage and the Christmas Cherries. Sir Clage was an Arthurian knight who was incredibly generous and ran out of money because he celebrated Christmas too hard. One day he got a big thing of Christmas cherries that were like perfect. Goes to a castle and the guard is like, "Listen, I'll let you in to see the king if you give me a third of whatever the king gives you." Then he goes in, then he sees a steward. He wants a third. Somebody else is like, hey, I want a third. He's like, well, I guess I gotta. Talks to the king, and the king is like, wow, Christmas cherries are fantastic. What do you want for him? He's like, okay, I want 12 blows for these cherries. And he was like, what do you mean? I want 12 blows. And he was like, okay. So then he went to the guard, he went to the steward, he went to the other guy and hit them as hard as a knight can 4 times. So he kept his promise and he was very honest. And when the king found out, he came back and was like, that was amazing. That was delightful. Thank you for beating the crap out of my steward. Have land and money and everything else. The end. So Arthurian knights have a lot of examples of oaths and honor and the ins and outs and being honest. And I think these two stories are two really good examples of that. Feel free to critique away.
I like it. I do like that. So, Darcy said, in investigations, one must swear to honesty and in turn keep their promise to said honesty. Now, My question to you, since you did bring this up and they go on to say it becomes a performative statement. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. And in turn, their statements are read as the truth unless otherwise proven to be false. Is there a double-edged sword here, though?
Well, yeah, if you end up lying, you're guilty of perjury, and then boom.
Well, what if you
Like,
are telling the truth too?
what if you're telling the truth?
Is there any kind of problem that could occur from this?
Or tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Yeah, I killed him. Guilty
Yeah,
chair.
that's fair. That's a fair one. And you're going away.
Go away.
Yeah, but I told the truth, you know.
I told the truth. I was being honest.
your
I
honor.
kept my promise. I did. No, that's a
Why am I
fair
being
one.
penalized? I told the truth. Well, there was that whole killing part, you know.
Yeah. So then we got a story. We got a story. David never thought much about his promises. He gave his word easily because most of the time it was easy to keep. One morning he told a neighbor he'd fix a broken gate before nightfall. Simple enough. Then the day shifted. Friends showed up with a better offer, a faster reward, and an excuse that sounded reasonable. It can wait, they said. And it could have. David could have explained it away. He could have said tomorrow. No one would have called him out. But a promise isn't about the task, it's about trust. So he went back. The work took longer than planned. The light faded. He missed out. And when it was done, the neighbor thanked him, not because the gate was fixed, but because his word was kept. That's when it landed. Your word only has weight when it costs you something. And honesty isn't what you say, it's what you do when walking away would be easier. And that is absolutely true. I would also say that that is the embodiment of integrity. So then our bard says keep like recaptioned it was keep your promises, be honest. I will reference Aladdin. In it, Aladdin asked Genie what he'd have wished for. The genie said that he'd wish for freedom because it's the only thing he could not give himself. At the end of the movie, Aladdin had the chance to use his third wish to become a prince again, the only way, or at least so he thought, for him to marry the love of his life. Aladdin remembers that he made a promise earlier in the story that he would use his third wish to set the genie free. He decides he has to keep this promise and be honest with his intentions. He wants to be with Jasmine, but he has to honor the commitments. He is a real one for that. He sets the genie free, and his earnest and trustworthiness shows that he is pure of heart and just wants what is best for his friend. The Sultan hears this, is moved by his honesty and stand-upness. He lets Aladdin marry Jasmine anyway. Keeping your promises and being honest give you an unmovable force and helps you overcome rock and hard place situations. I love that. And then we got another one. Ugnaught the species is a 2-in-1. I don't actually know that one. Can I get does anybody know what that is? Ugnaught?
The little pig people.
It's Mandalorians, isn't it? Mandalorians.
Mandalorians, isn't it?
Y'all heard me earlier when I said I'm
Stop it.
not a fan of Star Wars, right?
Yeah,
They're little
and
pig people,
and
yeah.
they're very good with their hands, but they were in bondage and all this lot. But the score is their word is their bond, and their lyrics at the end is always like "I have spoken," and that's the deal, mate. As soon as they've said "I have spoken," whatever I've said, I'm gonna bloody well do. It's just bang on. They're midgets, and anyway, he dies. Anyway, I don't want to give. Oh, you've all seen it anyway. But like, he dies, and it's just wicked because it's even worse because he kept to his word. Look after the baby. Blah 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 blah. All the rest of it.
Is there anybody else in the room that really loves that accent and can listen to that all day?
Right.
Oh,
It's better in person too.
I don't doubt it, but I'm just sitting here going, let him keep talking. That's awesome.
okay. I'm stepping back now. Ugnaughts.
No, I meant that as a good thing.
Love it to bits. Love them to bits.
I feel like playing the Beatles now. I just
So, Erda, did you have any Any that you thought of?
I'm sorry. I'm really having trouble coming up with things this morning. Maybe I haven't. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'll keep trying.
You
Well,
need caffeine. I get it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
I haven't been feeling that great either.
Okay.
Oh.
But I've definitely been enjoying the presentations.
Embrace the force. Feel it. Feel it.
So maybe you can help me, Erda, with this one. So I'm going to give the story that I gave, and you tell me how you feel it relates to the compass, or at least how the compass could guide some information on this. So the one I came up with is wedding vows. So a person gives some wedding vows, and they say that they're going to be with someone until the day that they die. But as they keep going on in life, they are abused by their spouse. And as a result, they have to be honest with themselves and understand that they need to leave the relationship. Still, they've made these vows and they go out, they divorce, um, leaving the other person the opportunity to get married. But they've made this decision that because they made a vow, they would never get married. They meet and encounter another person. This other person has divorced, and they found that they had happiness by getting married into a new relationship. And the individual who has kept their vows looks upon them with upset and constantly repeats to them different things out of the Bible about why they should not be in a new marriage, how they've sinned and they need to go and repent. This is the whole story. Do you think that there's any guidance in the compass that could have better prepared our person who has kept her vows or his vows for the encounter with the new person that did not?
So it's the person who kept their vows they're criticizing the person who didn't keep their vows.
Correct.
Excuse me, I got a question.
Yeah.
So the person that kept their vows, they were actually the abuser, right?
No, they were not the abuser. They were
Wait,
the
which one?
abused. They
They
were
were the
the
one being.
Okay, so let me give names to these people.
That'll-
Uh Kelly, you can spell that however you want. Very neutral name. Kelly made vows to Charlie. That is also a neutral name. Made vows to Charlie. And when after their marriage, Charlie started abusing Kelly. Kelly got a divorce from Charlie and decided to keep their vows. But Charlie got remarried. They still don't have any contact with each other. So Kelly one day meets Katerina. No, that was just a name. Katerina. And Katerina has been divorced. And Katerina is now married again. So Kelly, feeling like this is wrong and that Katerina should have stayed unmarried, goes and criticizes Katerina and reads all kinds of Bible verses to her. So we're looking to see how the compass could have guided Kelly.
Oh, okay. I think I got it now.
The names really help.
They really did. Jump in.
So
If I make no mistake,
I'd like to hear from Erda. There is a reason I'm trying to get Erda their credit for this.
oh, okay.
Thank you. I didn't
All
even
right.
realize that we got credits for this. So it sounds like maybe Kelly deep down is jealous. Like maybe she feels even though she's keeping her vow, um, she may be lonely now that she feels like she can't be with anyone else because of this. Maybe she's jealous of Katerina's freedom to pursue her own happiness. Is that along the lines of
This is one way you can take it, yes.
okay?
So what would that be something that they would need to do? If you look at the Jedi Compass, there is a word like that you're hinting at with this specifically. There are a number of different ways you can look at this. But if you need the compass again, just kind of quickly look over it. Compass. We'll see. There's a link in there, but there is one in particular I can think of where what you're going with would hit right on the mark. So what's something that
Um,
Kelly could do or work on rather?
yeah, maybe work on her interior or work on her self-care.
Yeah.
Um, but it sounds like she's got something inside herself that she's not really facing, and it's causing her to be judgy towards other people. Oh, positive regard. I'm seeing that. So you're not sitting in judgment, but being accepting of others as fellow human beings and recognizing that their needs may not be the same as your needs. So you feel this need to like stick to this vow to someone who was abusive, and then you're judging other people for not sticking to their vow, even though they had some need to be with someone. So maybe positive regard.
Yeah. All those are really good. Okay, Bodhi, what about you? Because I didn't want to cut
I,
you off.
no, it's okay. I was gonna throw out a temperance. Um, with respect to how Kelly is feeling about Katarina, and that whereas Kelly may disagree with it, but she has to understand that Katarina is living her life. And whereas that might be Kelly's, opinion about it, that's fine. Kelly's allowed to have her opinion, just as Katarina is allowed to live her life.
Yep. And that goes to positive regard, compassion, and also the one that came to mind, Erda, that you were talking about was actually overcoming an attachment. Because that is an attachment that Kelly would have. So now you guys have seen how this kind of works together and flows. We are at the top of the hour, and I do got to cut this off. But I do hope that you guys have gotten a little bit more of an idea of how this card game is supposed to work. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, hit the stop recording button. And then